But we also told you about how we need to get into detail about all the things related to investigations, the DNA discoveries, the matches, the laboratory investigations, and also forensics. And we're speaking to a former CID boss, former Director General for the Criminal Investigation Department of the Ghana Police Service, and COP Bright Odro, retired this year. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
And it's good because it's always handy when we have you in the studio. But you've been following what the police have been giving us, your former institution, by way of the discovery so far. I'll first ask you, what's your own first word on it?
Thank you. I have been following developments, especially when some skeletal remains were discovered at some part in Takrady. And everybody is now talking, tongues are wagging. Could they be these girls that have been missing for nearly 1 year? So we have all jealously waiting to see some outcome. We know they're going to do some forensic examination, and quickly we want to see what happens in this forensics, so that we'll be able to tell whether these remains were those of the girls or are not.
What in your work, in your line of work, if we say forensics, what does it relate to? What do we mean?
Oh, forensics, I believe, is the application of science to investigation, more or less. Application of science to investigations, to crime investigation. If you say forensic, it means you are applying science to whatever you want to do.
And usually, we've always heard about how sometimes crime scenes are tampered with, especially in our part of the world, in our country. But how is that critical? What you go and see, the evidence or the materials that will be picked on the ground, how is that critical to any form of forensic investigation?
You know, when we have a crime scene, normally it is the police that will determine the crime scene. Crime scene is just where a crime takes place, the central location of a crime, and usually it's the starting point of a criminal investigation. So if it is a starting point, then we need to protect the crime scene. We don't have to allow people to tamper, because if you do so, you tamper with critical evidence. There are physical traits that are normally found in the crime scene, and we need to protect the integrity of the crime scene. So normally we seal off, so that those who don't have anything to do with the crime scene are not allowed in the crime scene.
And following that, what would then the police be doing?
The police will be examining the crime scene, constructing, reconstructing, looking for traces, physical traces, so that when they pick them, of course, if somebody goes to a crime scene, we know that he has brought something onto the crime scene, and when he leaves as well, he has also taken something from the crime scene. So we try to look for things that might have been brought to the crime scene, so that when we pick them, then we do some forensic examination, especially when we get suspects. Then we do some examination to see if there will be match. When somebody is picked, either it's DNA, either it's fingerprint, either it's maybe some cigarette, remains of cigarette that has been left at the scene. So these are picked and then compared, especially when we have some suspects matched with the suspect, to see if he was the one who went to the crime scene. And when you are found to have left something at the crime scene, then it means we are almost there, because why would something from you be left at the scene? If you leave fingerprints on a polished surface, why is it that your finger impression has been left on the surface there? So you see, then the onus lies on you to prove why that thing is there. But once it is there, I mean, how are you going to defend yourself? So it is very important. Crime scenes are very important. We don't need to contaminate crime scenes. We need to have the integrity of crime scene at all times, so that whatever we pick from the crime scene can be matched with the suspect who enters the crime scene, or who has entered the crime scene.
So it also means that it's all about trying to match possibilities.
Exactly, yeah.
But let's say in relation to these study girls, and especially we're told that we've retrieved a number of human remains, could be bones or whatever it is. First, it will be taken where?
If it is bones, like we have been told, I think it is DNA. People are talking about DNA. And I think for now, it is DNA that needs to be conducted, DNA analysis that needs to be done to be able to establish whether those remains belong to the girls. It's going to be some tedious work, but I believe the experts can do it. I am not an expert there, so I cannot talk much about DNA. But once there are physical traits, like those things have been left at the scene, they should be picked, and then DNA, because these girls are missing. We don't know where they are. And so they themselves, we cannot take any swab from they themselves. Swab can be taken from maybe close relatives, so that those will be used to compare with the bones that have been left.
Usually when these pieces of evidence are collected, you hand them over to the labs and the science people to go and do.
Yes.
Do you give them a time frame when they have to submit them, or you just give them as long as they say they could?
I think it depends on them much. Much depends on those who conducting the forensic examination. But I think with this situation that we have on our hand, everybody is curious, everybody is anxious, and we need to bring a closure to this sort of thing. We need to find out whether these girls, the bones that have been found, belong to the girls that are missing. And every Ghanaian, I'm sure, not only the family, every Ghanaian is so anxious that we get to the bottom of it. So investigators, field investigators will tell the crime scene investigators or the crime laboratory experts to maybe expedite action. Whatever you need to do to bring the result, please do it fast. In this particular case, I expect everybody to be to make the effort to, if it is within your power, to assist. Government, IGP, CID, everybody, Ministry of National Security, everybody. If it is money we need, I think we need to find money. We need to conduct a forensic examination so that we'll be able to tell whether these are the girls or these are not the girls. It is very important.
But curiously, if you especially monitor what the comments have been from either known personalities and even on social media, there was a suggestion. Why is it that the police rushed on Saturday and issued a statement that so or these remains have been found because integral to all this is the main suspect, and it was at the last abode of the main suspect. Why didn't the police just finish with their investigations and come out with some conclusions?
I'm sure people might have seen what the police recovered from.
Okay.
From there, and so it was necessary for the police to come out to indicate what actually had been seen. I learned even when they were going there were sirens being blown here and there, and people were curious to find out what exactly the police had come to do. And so it was important for the police also to tell the public what they had discovered.
Just to keep us up to date.
Maybe yes, and then so that speculations will not go here and there like that. I'm sure they wanted the public to know what they have found, and to end this maybe cycle of speculations.
But curiously though, it looks like even this incident and the subsequent announcement and all that is going also increases speculation, knowing that we'd been told by the same police or the CID that the girls could be outside Ghana. The police apparatus itself know where the girls are, and now we're being told that they found this remains at the last abode of the main suspect.
Yeah.
Doesn't it increase the speculation?
Yes, it does. It does. And, you know, we like you said, the police had initially indicated to us that the girls were safe, the police knew where they were. I, at that time, thought that the police knew that they were not in Ghana, they were elsewhere. And so everybody was anxious, everybody was curious to know when these girls will be rescued and reunited with their families. And then out of the blue, this discovery also comes. But we have to wait for this forensic examination first, because we cannot establish, or we cannot say for sure that these bones belong to the three girls. But if speculations come like they have come, I think it's in order, because these bones were found at the location where this first suspect lived. And so if people are tempted to believe or to think that these bones might have something to do with the missing girls.
Now, knowing that it's coming from the CID itself, and even from the head who was convening a news interaction or press conference, if you were a CID boss, would you have also conducted yourself that way?
I think I've said it somewhere that probably it's the information that she had at the time. Maybe she thought the information was so credible, and she had to come out the way she did. If I had had the information that she had, I had said somewhere that maybe I would have said we have leads that we are following closely, and at the appropriate time probably we will come out and tell the public and the family. Maybe I would not have gone the way she went, but as I kept on saying the other time, it depended on the type of information that she had, and the kind of belief that she also had in the information that was given her.
Now, it's quite interesting, knowing that this had been ongoing. The police had come in, and also in the public domain, kept giving us the assurances. We know that we've picked this prime suspect up from the same location. Never occurred to the police that they would do all these searches until now.
You know, like investigation of this type, this is major crime investigation. People have been taken away, and you need to get to the bottom of the matter. I'm sure the police were a bit convinced that whatever this suspect was telling them appeared to be true to them. So the focus was I believe, was on the testimony, or on the statement, or on what this boy told the police. So the focus was not to be open to other perspectives, like different perspectives. Because I had also indicated somewhere that if it were kidnapping proper, we would have expected that calls would come to say we need this amount, but there was nothing of the sort. The girls had been taken away, and up till now, apart from the initial maybe demands that were made by the prime suspect, we have not had any occasion to believe that they had sent in demands. They had wanted they had made some more demand. There was nothing of the sort. And so then it means that we should also look elsewhere. We should also be open to other perspectives and see whether that would also work. Like I said, were they abducted? Have they been trafficked? If they had been trafficked and then doing some work somewhere, probably we may not hear from them, because we have so many of these girls in Asia, and then we don't normally hear from them until they come back to tell their story. So have they been trafficked? So like looking for other perspective. And the other perspective would also be like, have they been killed? If they have been killed for ritual purposes, if they have been killed, then it's for some ritual purpose, because you cannot just take somebody and kill like that. Killed and probably body parts taken out somewhere. So if you settle on that perspective, then you may want to then do some searches. Let's go to where we picked the boy. Let's do some searches. Where can they maybe hide dead bodies? You begin to think.
And they had to take several months onwards.
No, what I'm saying
before the police arrived at that conclusion.
Yeah, if they had arrived at that conclusion, probably they would have gone in to find out from the septic cesspit and the tank, maybe to find out. Because if somebody has been killed, definitely you will not expect that the body is just thrown out like that. You think that the body had been buried somewhere, and you may want to, just like what the police did. Finally, they go to the septic tank, and then they find bones there. And I believe, and I think that it is the police that, I don't think they got any information from anywhere. But maybe out of the blue, this also said, oh, why not? Why not just let us also look into it that the girls have been killed? And if so, then where do we conduct searches?
It's quite interesting. Let's bring in lawyer Martin Pebu. Mr. Martin Pebu, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yesterday, though, there was quite an interesting highlight from a news conference that was convened by the family of the missing Takoradi girls. Now, the thrust of that press conference was the fact that they thought, due to all that has transpired, they don't need to cooperate with the police in relation to trying to give their samples for other forms of DNA or forensic testing. What do you make of it? Are they within their rights?
Largely, they are. You see, under our law, what that the Evidence Act 1975, what it is that is when you have an accused person before a court, it's the one that the court usually has power under Section 97 to make an order for bodies to be taken for analysis. That will include DNA samples. You see, so that is specifically when the person is in charge, when it's an accused person. So you see that the murder of the Japuha officer in Kenya, that the court needed an order for DNA samples to be taken, right? Yes, there are other examples. But when it comes to the family now, they are witnesses, so to speak. They are going to the court. But in that respect, there is no such compulsion that if they are refusing to cooperate, the court make an order that the real sample is taken. That's it's not common. So practically, the best thing is that usually the prosecution will seek to engage them. You see, the comments they are making that they will not cooperate and all this are born out of pain. They are grieving. You see, they are grieving, frustrated, and all that. So these are matters that the state will do well to talk to them behind the scenes. That's how this thing is done. And I just asked me, wondering why maybe we will not have our big government officials visit them. You see, when you visit them, then you help to, what do you call it? Even right now, we are hoping that they are alive, so you help to keep hope alive. It makes them help to assuage their pain. Okay? Yes, so that's the best way. That it's all about engagement. Engagement.
But there's something curiously that somebody told me yesterday, that whether the families also had it within their rights to, let's say, sue the government or the police service for misleading them all this while.
Oh, as for suing, you can always sue, but see, yes, you want to say that they were deliberately misled and all that. Yes, but Roland, as you are aware, that by itself doesn't bring back the girls. So that's why I say, so if you look at it, ultimately, what we are all looking for is the return of the girls. So the energy to be better channeled right now for cooperation than beginning to sue government. And the thing is that, yes, so if it's just for the treatment that we're misled, yes, that one is a cause of action. But as I said, to what end? It doesn't directly help to bring about anything directly. It doesn't help to bring to return the girls. So looking at it, as I said, I think so far what I don't see is how we are engaging them. And Roland, most especially, I think that the state should provide counseling services. Counseling services to help them, because all those treatments they are making, as I said, it's out of frustration, it's out of pain, they are grieving. You see, even though in a way we know that there's no certain statement that the girls are dead, but they are in pain. So maybe this religion is not the right way. Let's say they are in pain. You see, they are frustrated, and so some psychological counseling will do. You say so that's very, very, very. So maybe even within the police service, that they should see, and they think they are directly in line, and also the regional minister, because it appears that we want to say so that if the president also come down and look at the overburdening him. So the regional minister, with the regional coordinating council and the regional minister's deputy, they and the police, they can come together and then find some help for them, psychological counseling. They need a clinical psychologist to talk to them. And also, in matters like this, maybe, times are hard. I heard, what do you call it, one of the girls' father yesterday. I understand at the beginning the suspect, the Udoto, he had asked for 5,000. I heard they paid it to bits and pieces and all that, and eventually got to 4-5. Roland, my sense of it is that they may not be that materially well off. So maybe if they seem to teaching them a bit, all this too, that would help. You see?
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for giving us this word and this sort of education. Martin Kwebo is a legal practitioner, but in the meantime, we also would have to take a look at the way the suspect has been handled. It could be that maybe the way he's been handled, maybe too coercively empathetic, and so he's not been forthcoming with more information up to now.
Well, I'm not in a position to tell how he's being handled. But I believe he being the main suspect, he should be subjected to intense interrogations. Every day in, day out, he should be interrogated. And I'm sure if we pin him down and interrogate, he may come out with some confession. So far, I have not seen that. I think he has rather been misleading the police. He hasn't been forthcoming with the truth. And talking about the suit, I was just listening. This case has not been brought to finality. Whether the girls are alive or not, we can't tell. So the family can sue only if now we are sure that the girls are no more. We can't find them. Then they can say confidently that they have been misled. But for now, I don't think they have been misled so far.
In your line of work, when you were in active service, how frustrating is it sometimes when information from the source that you have to get, and in this case will be a suspect, seems to always land you in a ditch?
Normally it's difficult to extract confession from suspects. This boy behind the killing of J.B. Danko Edu, Sexy Don Daniel Esiedu, is one of such people. We've interrogated him on a number of occasions, and we have used so many tricks. But I think there is still something there that he is yet to voice out. And this boy, I think he was the first person arrested, and he was the only source that provided information for the police. And I'm sure it was based on his information that the police came out to say that they knew where the girls were, and at the appropriate time they will be.
So you're saying your source of information, who could be the main suspect, or the number of main suspects, so to speak, could be playing hanky-panky with you?
Yes.
That could lead nowhere sometimes, in some cases.
Yes, because if they are not forthcoming with the truth, it becomes difficult for your investigation, especially when that person is a prime suspect. That we expect that person to be forthcoming with the truth. I mean, come out and confess so that we end the interrogations process. But sometimes you will have to handle, and that is even the reason why sometimes third-degree methods are sometimes used, and these are not acceptable in court. I mean, third-degree methods, if you know that this is the guy who did it, and yet he is playing hide and seek with the truth, you may be compelled to use some other methods in order to get confession.
If you use third-degree methods, they could be dismissed by the courts.
Yeah,
even though if you still have the evidence.
Yeah, it will depend, because if he confesses after maybe using some methods, and then it leads you to make some heavy catches somewhere, and then those catches that you have made tell you that one that is.
So for the public good.
Yes.
For the public good. All right. But as we wrap up this discussion, there are times the police seem to be under excessive pressure, and this is one of
exactly one of them.
How does that pressure compel you to either release information or withhold information in many of the times? I'm asking this because you've been head of the CID.
You see, like a case like this, a serious crime occurrence, everybody wants information. Everybody wants to know the stage at which the process, investigative process has reached, whether the police are making progress or they are not. So from time to time, the police can release some information to the public. Not exactly what they are doing, but at least bits of it to reassure that this is the stage they are, this is where they have gotten to, and that they are making steady progress. You need to let the people know. So I'm sure that is why even when they got these skeletal remains, they came out to say that they have made some discoveries and that they will do some DNA. It's important. If they had not even told the general public, I'm sure people would have come out to speculate a lot. So sometimes it is important. And for the family, at least, I mentioned family liaison officers to be appointed so that they also brief the family, because the family is in a state, let's say, of trauma. They have been traumatized, and they need to know bits of what you are doing to bring back these girls. Let's see what the DNA analysis or DNA profiling or what DNA examination brings out, and then we can see whether these girls are alive or they are not alive. This morning I saw that in one of the, I think, papers that some dress was found at the scene where this first suspect escaped to when he ran away from cell. And that dress was linked to one of the females,
one of the missing girls.
We don't know how true that is.
Still speculative at this point.
And then that dress was discovered early enough, I think not now. So I mean, it means that when that dress was discovered, I'm sure the police should have maybe extended their investigation and then maybe done some searches around the area to see whether the girl or the girls had been hidden there.
We know for the North, for the West, let's say Europe, America, and even Southern Africa, they use a lot of these techniques, the forensics and DNA. Have you had your time in office to use it very often?
We didn't have the DNA facility, but now we have. So those days, I think, when it became necessary for any DNA profiling or DNA analysis, I think the standard board, we refer to the standard boards to do it. Or sometimes maybe to South Africa.
South Africa.
But now we have the facility at the
so we can easily do that. Thank you very much, and enriching the discussion for us. We've been very grateful. COP Bright Odro is a former Director General of the Police CID and helping us do some great discussions on the subject. But also is all part of our way of making sure that we get the education right, but also bringing to you all the best content in relation to the police investigations, particularly as they announced that they found some remains just over the last 24 hours. Well, we'll bring you more of these. Ina Talia Kwanza is up there in Takrade, will be helping us, and Kojo Yankson have been doing some great work with her from Saturday.